Okay, I got another Pampaw, Uncle Charlie, my daddy, and Ronnie Marsteller story fishing in the Gulf of Mexico. So, my mother sent me this newspaper clipping a year or so ago, but this is a newspaper clipping of it's old thing, but there's Uncle Charlie, Ronald Marsteller, Edwin Gummelt Sr., and Kenneth Keel right there fishing. Newspaper, Corpus paper, got 'em fishing there. I'm sorry I can't keep it straight, but Uncle Charlie, Ronald, Pampaw, and Dad. That's a 38-pound ling that Ronald Marsteller caught, and this thing's missing some pieces here. It's like I can't read the whole caption and all that, but oh my gosh, these guys. So mother says, no wonder the women had headaches. These men go out in Uncle Charlie's boat. He's got a 19-foot inboard outboard, I think, is the one they took. I'm not sure, but it wasn't a huge boat. So they go out in the Gulf. I mean, they go out past Padre Island. They're out in the deep blue water fishing around these oil rigs, and they're catching. It says 90 pounds of red snapper. It says one of their catches was this batch of 136 trout from the Bay and Gulf. Ronald caught a 38-pound ling, and in addition, they combined for 90 pounds of red snapper. So, but they go out there, and this was probably, in the early 60s or, I don't know, mid 60s. And so they go, I don't know, 10, 15 miles out in the Gulf of Mexico where there's big 20-foot swells sometimes. They don't have a GPS. They don't have a weather radio. They don't have nothing. But they're Texans, and they're fishing. So they're out there fishing, catching all these fish, and they had a shark circling the boat. I think they were by an oil rig, catching all these red snapper and all this stuff. And I think Uncle Charlie had a shotgun or a 270 wrapped up in plastic underneath the seats in that nice boat. But 19 foot is not a huge boat for being out in the Gulf. And so this shark keeps circling the boat, and Ronnie, the way I remember the story, Ronnie gets some of that big green twine. We always use them for trot line and everything else, big roll of twine. He puts a big old hook on it, gets some cut bait, throws it over the side of the boat, trying to catch that shark. And so I'm not sure if it's this 38-pound ling or the shark, but I think it was a shark, is the way I remember the story. And they're out there fishing, catching red snapper, catching speckled trout, and all this. And that shark keeps circling the boat, and all of a sudden, zzz, something hit that cut bait on that shark line. And Dad said that big old roll of twine just sitting there spinning on the floor and taking off. And Ronnie grabbed it, and he was like, "Oh!" It burned his hand. So Dad reaches over there, and he's in the nursery business. He's pretty tough. He reaches over, he grabs a hold of that line, and is zinging out. Burned his hands, and he's like, "Oh!" And so they can't even slow it down. And Uncle Charlie says, "Hey boys, let me see that line." And he gets hold of that line. Uncle Charlie owns Jeep Lincoln Mercury dealership, but he's a tough mechanic, whatever you want to label him. He's tough, and he out there welding my Jeep tow bar together, everything. Anytime you ask him, he grabs hold of that line that's zinging out. And Dad said he grabbed hold of that line that burned holes in me and Ronnie's hands, and he said, Zzz, and he just held on to it and just stopped that line. He held it just and stopped it and started pulling it back in. So I don't know if it was that 38-pound ling or the shark, they drug it back to the boat, but Uncle Charlie stopped it with his tough hands. But anyway, they go out there in the Gulf of Mexico, and back then that's just the way they did things. They didn't have a GPS, they didn't have a weather radar and weather radio and all that. They just went out there and went fishing. So anyway, what a story to see. My Pampaw and my daddy Oh, this is all double reverse. Pampaw, Daddy, Ronald, and Uncle Charlie fishing in the Gulf of Mexico in the Corpus Christi paper. Life is good. God bless these men. And everybody have a great week. And subscribe to my channel, please. And like it and share it and all that. But like Rusty says in that relaxation class I took at the U of M, take deep breaths. Oh, take about 3 big deep breaths. And breathing is a leader. It'll slow your heart rate. It'll slow your blood pressure, lower it. And it's one of the few things we can control, but you can control your breathing. When we get stressed, we start panting and don't realize it. Take a little shallow breaths. So take deep breaths. Protect your friends and family. Life's good. So I'm going to lock this thing up here. Adios. Have fun.